Hello. The Fuji XT30 in this video was made possible by our friends at B&H. Be sure to pick everything up at B&H. P.S. They had nothing to do with the horrible audio in this video.
So I thought what I would work on today is to shoot more kind of painting, abstract flowerscapes. To do this technique, one thing you want to be sure is don't go bokeh crazy, or maybe you can go bokeh crazy when I think about it. I'm gonna try both. Sometimes when you're shooting flowers too close, if you're obsessed with 1.2 or 1.4 on your lens, you're gonna get nothing in focus, especially if you're shooting close to your subject. Let's make some paintings, people. All right, here's an example of a beautiful tree, but shooting wide usually doesn't get you the calendar look I'm talking about. So let me take this picture. And so you can see what we want to do is zoom so it brings the background forward. Okay, so we need a palette in the background. And so this is the 24 millimeter focal length on the 10 to 24, but I'm gonna switch out my lens to the 35 millimeter. Let's try that. Okay, so now I have the 35 millimeter on and we're at f2. So remember I said be careful, don't go bokeh crazy. Although let's try both. Let's go to 5.6. And I think 5.6 versus f2. F2 is a little bit more dreamy, but again, be careful because if you go too close at f2, you're going to start losing any kind of detail. Okay, the other thing you have to make sure is you have to watch your background. You see this white blown out stuff? That is very distracting for the viewer if they're looking at your photograph. So you want to find a composition where it fills up as much as possible. It fills up all that white space. Okay, so you'll basically move your camera till you find somewhere where there's the least amount of white space and then you can take your picture. So something like that. Okay, and so this is the ultimate goal. This is with the 56mm 1.2 and there's no stabilization, by the way, on this lens, so it's going to be a little shaky. I apologize. However, if you have the kit lens, you can zoom to 55 millimeters and shoot that puppy at f4. I'll show you what that looks like as if we had the kit lens. This is what f4 would look like, but we're going to go nuts. Let's go bokeh nuts here. And again, avoid those white spaces that you see in the background. They are distracting. So let's try to take a shot, a flowerscape with the 56mm 1.2. Okay, loving the 56 besides it being like shaky. Here's another technique for the spring. You can use branches to frame your flower or whatever you're shooting. So I'm going to use this branch right here and this one to set up a frame for what I am trying to shoot, which is this flower here. And last little tip, you can use the branches to bring out the flowers a little more. So here, the dark branch or the dark trunk there can sort of highlight this area of flower. I also like this composition of whatever's back there. So we can kind of use that there. So this looks like a good composition. Also, another hint, there's flowers that are in the foreground here, these guys. So you can use them in your photo. So those flowers are your subject here. These are playing around in the background, but these little guys give you a nice little foreground element, which is cool. You see that little smeariness at the top? So that's something that's a good technique too. Anyway, play around, play around. Let's go find some other flowers. We're bored with these. We're bored with you. Okay, here we are on a flowering bush. And again, looking at colors here, this works. We got red, we got green, and we have browns in the background. We're sort of going to use a rule of thirds here. But this is where we can go nuts with flowerscape painting and very open aperture. Right now, believe it or not, I'm at F11. F11. So we get looks like an iPhone picture. But watch, let me show you. Look at that. Look at that, man. Super buttery, delicious background. But is that too much? I would argue that yes, it is too much. We kind of want some of the shapes to come in. So here we are at like 2.8. So you don't have to go bokeh crazy if you're close. Right here I'm about a foot away from the flowers. And you also will get nothing in focus on the flower, just like maybe one little half a leaf. So think about that. Stop down. Let's say if we had the kit lens and we were trying this shot, it would be here, f4. So that's about what you would get, f4 bokeh in the background. I like that tree as an element. Now I did shoot one of the photographs with the 35mm f2, and they're bundling the Fuji XT30 with a lot of f2 lenses, like the 35mm f2. They're taking $300 off, so you're essentially getting the lens for about $100. And some might argue that's a good value to just jump on the new camera instead of getting something used, if you're in the market for the 35mm f2. But I actually like the 35mm photo better than the 56mm, which is a more expensive lens. So, more flowers I see over there. Okay, you also should think about film simulation and white balance, like we talked about in the past. So this is the Velvia film simulation. Look at what standard looks like. So for certain flowers, standard may look a little better. Sometimes Velvia is just a little too much, especially for reds and yellows. And classic chrome, which is what the plants don't look like this at all. Here's Ostia film simulation. And here's Pro Neg High. Pro Neg High is if you want to be as faithful as possible. It's pretty much what the plant looks like.
Okay guys, I had to do a voiceover here because the wind was going crazy in the microphone here, so I'll save your ears. So there's a great photographer by the name of Martin Bailey. If you haven't heard of Martin Bailey, look him up, Martin Bailey Photography. But he uses the technique known as Flowerscapes really well. And his technique is to sort of focus in on some of the small flowers and make sure that you have sort of a bokeh foreground element. Right, that's what I'm talking about here. And then to have a nice dark background or something in the background also is bokeh. So check him out.
All right, there you have it, guys. Spring has sprung, and very excited to come out and shoot for myself with the Fuji XT30. It did a nice job. And review coming soon. I just like to try the cameras before I review them. And I'll see you guys at the next one. Get out there and shoot.